friends. Welcome back to the Live with Audacity podcast, where you are learning to embrace your originality in order to serve others as your authentic self. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart, and my guest today is Michelle Andersen, owner of Flourish, a landscape design firm, and also a business coach. Today, she sits down with me to talk about how she successfully handed over the daily management of her business, how she avoids the hustle expectations of a business owner, and so much more. Let's dig right in. You're listening to the Live with Audacity podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart. Audacity is defined by Merriam-Webster as intrepid boldness or disregard for normal constraints. And that's exactly what we have here. The Live with Audacity podcast is aimed at giving you the courage to explore your someday dreams, do things your way, and start making things happen in your life right now. I'm a mama of 4 kiddos ranging from college student to kindergartner, wife to a high school football and track coach, and a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Together with my guests, we're going to teach you how to live with audacity and intentionality, discover and utilize your unique skills and talents, and step into who you are meant to be in order to make your someday dreams a reality. Are you ready? Here we go. Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming back to the Live with Audacity podcast. Today I'm so excited to have Miss Michelle Andersen here. Michelle and I met in a Facebook group, and it's been so fun getting to watch her. And I got to actually be a guest on her podcast recently. But she is the design director and owner of Flourish and a life and business coach. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be speaking with you again. It was really fun to have you on my show, so I'm honored to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Tell us a little bit about how you. I know that you built up Flourish, and now, of course, you still own it, and but you have someone running it so that you can do some other things. I think that is so cool and such a great way to help. It's was your full-time job, but now it's kind of your side hustle, so you can do some other cool stuff. So tell us a little bit about that and how you got to that point.
Yeah, it's just absolutely awesome that it happened like that. And I was actually just talking to a really cool person yesterday about this. She was talking about how if you're a creative, what happens with your business and how do you infuse creativity into your business if you have always wanted to? So I started out as a creative, like I saw myself as a designer. And when I started freelancing and it started to turn into a bona fide business, I really had no idea how to run a business. And I had done some internships with some architects that had very tiny businesses, and they didn't know how to run businesses either. That just happened to be that they were really terrible at the cash part of things. And so was I. So, out of my misery of doing really tiny little landscape design jobs and really knowing that I needed to figure it out, I ended up hiring a coach and really understanding that I needed to invest in learning business. And I did. And I became so obsessed with stepping out of my design role and coming into business land, which I really didn't want to do. But I didn't want to go work for somebody else. I was too stubborn.
Amen, girl.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I got to make a choice. I just was afraid that putting the businesswoman hat on meant that I would be looking at numbers, which I thought were boring, and wearing a navy blazer. I don't know why I had that in my mind.
That's so awesome.
I was just afraid of being boring, and nothing could be further from the truth. It really mastering how I look at my money, and it's always evolving. Like there's always something to learn. So I haven't like mastered the concept itself, but I'm very, very comfortable with it now. That has actually enabled me to be super creative because I'm empowered around my business. And it was, a great fear for me to give my dear hat of designer and project manager over to someone else. And I couldn't be happier that I did, because it truly happened to turn out to be an accidental 4-hour work week. I just came to realize that the bulk of my time was spent doing all the things that I had delegated over to the person that I hired. And once I hired him, my whole life was freed up to do ultimately what I really wanted to do, was build a coaching practice.
That is so amazing. I love to hear that. So when you how did you realize that you were ready to hand it over?
It was an amazing miracle almost, because I wasn't ready to hand it over. But what happened was, I knew I was busy. I knew I needed help. I didn't even really have it in the budget to hire someone full time. So I hired him part time, and I didn't pay him a lot of money. It was just kind of like an entry wage. And he trusted me to be, a part of the team, and that he would have an opportunity to be loyal to the company. And had a lot of faith in that he could grow with me. I told him that's what I would wanted to do. And he really just started to love that role. And I saw that when I gave him more responsibility for the projects, because initially he was my assistant, um, the more that he just wanted to shine. And I thought, well, I can't take that away from this person because he's doing a great job. So, a lot of times in building my business, I found myself in challenging places that I had to think about sorting out. And this was one of the great moments of my business where it really just unfolded before me. And my main job was to acknowledge that this was the time to let go of the reins, that if I didn't do it then, that I would never do it. And that I really kind of had to swallow my pride a lot of times and just say, you know what, Michelle, this man can be just as good at your role as you were, and maybe even better if you let him. And that was smart.
Yeah, that's so great. I love that you said that you could see that the more responsibility you gave him, the more he, hey, flourished. um, and I think that's so great because one of the things that we talk a lot about here is using your unique gifts and talents to serve others. And I think you being able to recognize how good he could be in that role to serve your clients, now it's, you guys have built this partnership with your clients, and now they trust the two of you, and you really can hand it over and say, I trust you and you trust me, and now we can work really well together. And now you have time to do some other things while he gets to do exactly what he's meant to do as well. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, and once I saw that it was better for the clients, I just thought it was the greatest thing on earth, because at the end of the day, it's about them. And he and I went to visit a client yesterday, which I actually usually don't go to their properties very often, although I go to all of them except for the really small, quick ones. Um, but it was just the best thing for me to hear that our client said, we feel so comfortable that we can tell you whatever we need to. And he was referring to Chris. And that is exactly what I want him to be for them, as well as a really talented designer. So um, I'm just really super proud. And that was just, it just fell together. And I think, it's fun that I'm teaching other people how to build businesses now. And I'm working with my private clients on a high level, and I'm starting to teach people on an entry level. And there's no way to explain in a step-by-step process how a business actually works. You just,
Right?
yeah, you just take the opportunities and then course correct along the way is kind of how I look at it.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I think a lot of times we just really want a manual of, okay, first I do this, then I do this, then I post this here, and then I do that. And it's just, you just really got to get your hands dirty to figure it out. Tell us, what is one giant misconception that people have about having their own business?
I think there are many, and I think that, a lot of things come to mind when you say that because um, I hear a lot of people I talk about hustling and that you got to go out and get it and work really hard. And I would like to do everyone a favor and just say, hey, don't go in like thinking that it's hustle, because yes, you'll work hard because you're going to be sorting out challenges. But if you go in with that mentality, then that's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to have to hustle.
Mm.
Um,
I'm so glad you're bringing this up. Okay, keep going because I'm all ears.
Yeah, like I am obsessed with Instagram because I'm planning to use it for all of my brands. I currently do, but I'm definitely planning to invest more in the engagement level of my Instagram. And so I watch a lot of accounts, and a lot of them are all quotes about hustling. And I totally disagree with this. And I think that we live in a culture that's addicted to working hard. And I think it's a very acceptable, unhealthy addiction, and I think people are afraid to make space in their lives for happiness and beauty and joy a lot of times because potentially they might not know how or might not have a very good example of that. And I'm here to tell you that I have a 4-hour work week. And yes, it was very awkward when I found myself to have a lot of extra time. And I did fill it up and work a little hard sometimes, but it's a choice whether or not you would like to work hard.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think if you are a business owner, obviously, like you said, you're going to work hard, but there is a big stigma that if you have a business, you have to always be hustling and worn out and exhausted and, just frazzled and those sorts of things. But I think that if you're going to have your own business, 9 times out of 10, the whole reason you started that business was to be able to have that freedom over your own time. Um, and so why would you fill it up with being crazy, frazzled, and busy and, air quote, hustling when that's not the whole reason that you started it in the first place? I actually posted something on Facebook the other day about, you know, the fourth quarter, and I'm doing a last 90 days challenge, and a lot of the idea is that in the last 90 days we're going to kick it up a notch. We're going to do these habits that are very vital to our growth and improvement, which I love, and I'm absolutely totally there for all of that. But I had several people post it like, "Nope, high gear all the time," and it's like, I can't live like that. I just can't live in high gear all the time, and I don't think that we're intended to do that. I want to be able to stop and smell the roses. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, and I'm like way too vain to be in high gear all the time. Like I would like to look attractive for as long as possible, so I don't want to get worn out.
Oh my gosh, that's so gonna be my new saying. Like, nope, I gotta stay beautiful, so I'll just keep the stress at bay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
So that's reason number 1.
Yeah, exactly. I love that so much. What is one thing that you wish you would have had the courage to do sooner, either in your landscaping business or now in your coaching business?
Oh, that's a really good question. In my landscaping business, it took me far too long to really just understand that I needed to get pretty specific about my client and create a niche. And I just kind of didn't understand marketing and figured that anyone who needed help, I would, consider it, like if they needed a landscape project done. And that was very far from what would help me create a successful business, because as I was accepting anybody and everybody, I really was spreading myself too thin and didn't really have a specific area that people could understand. Like, I was getting a lot of DIYers, and then some people had some good sized projects, but there were a lot of people I needed to say no to and really tighten up my branding and really showcase that we were here to design and build really awesome spaces, not vegetable gardens and tiny, tiny things that just you really cannot build a business on unless you do a million of them.
Right.
So I also tried to like market things that really had nothing to do with my target market. Like I just didn't understand marketing. I didn't understand ideal clients. I do now. Um, and I
How
can
did you
save a
get
lot of
that?
people.
Yeah, how did you get that training though? How did you learn more about that?
Well, about 18 months in, when I was super miserable with how things were going, I hired a coach, and it was just like, really the biggest decision I made. I remember like fretting over that for 9 months because I just wasn't in the mindset of investing money on me, because I didn't feel like I had any, but I ended up putting my coach's fee on a credit card. And it seemed like so much money at the time to spend $1,800 on her. Um, and then I went on to go and spend tons and tons of money on coaching, and I still do to this day, because I just believe in hiring people now that already have the results that you hope to have. And she just was an amazing fit for me at the time, because I needed to see both some personality and behavioral things that weren't serving me at all anywhere in my life, but also that it related to my business. So she could see both strategy stuff and things I needed to work on in general, that as that unfolded and as that came together, like I was starting to understand that there is such a thing as an ideal client, and that is a very specific type of person. I didn't even know that was a thing when I started. So I would go on to work with her and then start to get into the mindset of entrepreneurialism and absorb just business wisdom from a variety of coaches and go to conferences and start to educate myself, because I didn't know what I didn't know. But once I realized that this was important, I really, really set out to understand it. And it really, really changed my world to get there. And I now have my own way of, helping my clients with what that looks like. And Chris and I talk about it every week. We talk about the clients that Flourish currently has, and we say, are they ideal clients? And when people want to work with us, we ask ourselves, are they ideal clients? And sometimes we tell people no. We said no to someone this morning. It doesn't happen often, but we realize that if we do help people that aren't a fit for us, it's really a lose lose.
Right, and then you don't you take up that time that really could be free for you to take on a better client for you as well.
Absolutely. And I think there are many, many ways to approach how to figure out what your ideal client is and how to create a niche. But I found that the effective way for Flourish, because it is a service based company, that we want to have a really great experience for ourselves as well, selfishly. Like we want to work with really great people. And I based our list of non negotiables that our clients need to be on values. And so approaching it with like a values based um, mindset means that we're going to be working with people who are like minded to us. And that means that that relationship is probably going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, I love that so much. Actually, while you were talking, I was thinking, I kind of have a general idea of the type of listener I want for the podcast, but sitting here thinking about it, you're right. I think I think I really need to sit back and think about who is my dream podcast listener for this show, and really start to zero in on that a little bit more. So if you're talking to me, what are some tips that you would give me to be able to do that?
If you have like some kind of a, service one-on-one thing, I do find that it's like super duper important to like have a few things that are non-negotiables around money and like the ability to afford. Um, but if you're really creating content and helping people that way, I usually just imagine like who specifically is that person? And I'm imagining that it's probably a woman that wants to listen. I've noticed that you're interviewing women, um, and then just kind of get inside of her head. Where does she shop? Where does she hang out? Like, how do I want her to feel? um, do I want her to be inspired? Do I want her to like tear out of here, like ready to set the world on, like, all of that is very, very different. And then if you just, I think the most simple way is just to kind of journal about one page. Who is she? What does she want? What is her pain? And I actually have this as a worksheet that I'm happy to share with you. This is like a
Yeah.
brain download. And what you might find is that she's a former version of yourself, or someone that you find yourself to be now, like a buddy, or someone that you aspire to be. It could be all over the place. But I give my person a name. For example, Flourish has like 3 people. And I painted out the picture for all of them, and one of them I gave him a name, and his name was Danny. And like a man named Danny called me that day. It was so
Oh
funny.
my gosh, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Talk about manifestation. Man, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay, well, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to put the link for that in the show notes for the brain download as far as the ideal client. So, I'll definitely get that from you so we can put that in there. What is one thing you would tell someone who is thinking of taking the leap into either, I would say probably coaching, and what are some things that they need to keep in mind? What um, what really made you think like, "This is the thing, this is what I really wanna do?"
Um, I knew like from early on that I had a desire to creatively be in charge. Um, so I was never not gonna work for someone else forever. But initially, like in my life, I thought about like writing or acting and stuff like that. But when design came about, I thought about like working for someone else and then leaving. And I'm really, really glad that when the recession happened, I didn't get hired anywhere, because it really forced me to look at opportunities for working for myself sooner. So I had some odd jobs, and then I started freelancing, and then I started my business. So I kind of got lucky that no one would hire me, because I don't know that I would have been so brave if I had gotten used to working for someone and having some kind of benefits. And then I may have worried, like, am I going to be able to make this money and replace this money on my own? So I kind of just took the opportunity, and there's just never a better time than right now to start, because it's never, ever, ever going to be perfect. Um, I remember my doctor saying to me, there's never a good time to have a baby. And I was like, oh, that's so true. I was like,
So true.
yeah, because babies bring a lot of, unpredictable moments. There's never a good time to start your business. And, you know,
Also true.
you start it, and you just start setting goals, and you're never, ever, ever going to know everything you're going to need to know. You just take what needs to happen in the short term and then pair it with what you want to happen in the long term, and you course correct along the way.
Yeah, definitely. I think course correcting is the key to learning how to run a business. It's you can't just know, I mean, nobody knows everything right up front, right? anything you do that's new, you're going to be bad at the first few times that you do it, and you just gotta learn and get better. So I'm glad that you said that. Tell me about a time you felt like you failed and what you learned from it.
I fail like a lot, so like people don't think that because I don't dwell on it, and I don't like to put things out there like bragging about how much I have to fail in order to succeed, because I just don't think that's very like manifesty of me. I'd rather focus on the positive, but most of the time whatever I'm working on has it doesn't end up the way that I kind of intend it to be starting out. um, but talking about failures, there are so many. I would say that I just kind of had like a low personal self-worth when I started Flourish, and I wasn't a very confident person, and I was going through a lot of things just like personally, and I had this business. And so I, in not feeling confident in being a woman and networking, like I wanted to look professional and be professional and get business, but sometimes it came across very awkwardly. And
Okay.
so I had gone from being like a poor college student to just like a poor person in general. And I didn't have a lot of money, but I always wanted great, nice things. And like in this whole transition, I had major life transitions. And so, like, over the course of 10 years, I found myself not really knowing how to dress like an adult, and then not really knowing how to dress like a professional, and really not knowing how to dress like a professional creative. And having a business where I'm outside all the time in a very like humid Cincinnati summer. So I remember I really needed business. I had this really gorgeous, amazing job in a really nice part of town that had sidewalks and stuff like between the houses. So I thought I was going to send them a handwritten note saying that I had just done work for this person in their neighborhood, and then go door to door and just say, hello, I'm this person. I, sent you the note, blah, blah, blah. And that's exactly what I did. So I literally went door to door, and I thought it would be best if I looked nice. And in hindsight, it was the dumbest outfit ever because it was like boiling. And so I thought I looked cute, but like I understand now that it was just kind of hoochie and stupid looking. Like I had this, it sounds ridiculous saying it, but it was a leopard like a mini dress with like wedge heels on. And
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
yeah, like so I'm this like, brown haired lady with a ponytail that probably looked like a kid. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. Hey, I just, I sent you that card, blah, blah, blah. And the funny thing was, like, everybody was so gracious. I didn't get any business out of it, but one man said, yeah, I got the card. And then he slammed the door on me. He was the only mean one. And then another guy said, well, I don't need your help, but that was just the sweetest card, and I kept it anyways. So.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
So what did you learn from that?
It just was really the long way of going and doing that. And this was really before social media became such an easier way to connect and engage with people. So this was probably about 6 years ago. And so in doing that, I I realized that I was dressed like I was trying too hard, and that can come across with desperation. Like when someone comes to a party and they're dressed too nice, or they come to a date and they're dressed too nice, you're like, okay, chill out. So I
Right.
needed to kind of chill out. However, I did it. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I did it. It took like 4 hours to do all that. And that was a lot of time, and it was boiling hot. And I know people probably like thought like, okay. So I definitely like, it was a really nice card, but when I walked around in my fancy outfit, like they probably were confused. Like the marketing was just off. You see what I mean? Like
Right.
I,
And it doesn't sound like it was really you.
It wasn't. And so, like, I didn't really know who I was, and that was coming across. And so, if you don't really understand who a person is, you're not going to hire them. And so, that was part of it. And so, I still had my internal work to do. I ended up hiring a stylist, and um, that was a really, really good idea because she taught me how to dress for who I was.
That's awesome. And I bet she helped you figure out, this is your personality. These are some things that go with your personality and really display who the person is that you want to display. So I think that's really cool. I am sitting here thinking like, man, maybe I should hire a stylist. That would be so much fun to have someone help me put together, the right outfit that says what you want to say, but it also reflects who you are. So I think that was a great idea. What has been your biggest win in your business?
Um, Gosh, there have been so many wins because I have really worked for it. I did have my hustle moments. Like, I would say that, walking around in wedge heels in the 90-degree humidity summer Cincinnati was hustling, and it was unnecessary. But I think one of my biggest wins is that I've always had really good relationships of people to back me up. And that's not even really something that I tried to do. I just happen to have some really golden contractors that have my back. And having them and honoring them and coming back to them with project after project, it just warms my heart. And no matter what the cash flow was doing, and how scared I was to make the numbers work, I would take a pay cut or not pay myself or go into debt just so that, like, the clients would never know how bad of a business person I was.
Oh, yeah.
And make sure that, my contractors had what they needed. And there were times when I had to ask them for favors, like to wait to be paid. And I think that my ability to just talk about money with both my clients and my contractors, which obviously those conversations are really different, have been extremely healing for me as a person because that was my biggest scary area was money. Was that I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't ever have much of it on my own. And here I was trying to like build my $1 million business and not knowing how to and having to manage a lot of money in and out. So like an average size project for that company would be like, $75,000. So that means that I'm paying a lot of money to make those projects happen. And so I had to really, really, really look at my money like I never had before. And it was because I had been able to like just start to really own and be responsible for my mistakes and keep the integrity of the experience together. I think that's what Flourish is. It's the integrity of the experience.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. Um, And I'm imagining that in order to have those hard conversations, you really had to do some mindset work around your money mindset. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I opened that can of worms with the coach I had and then did it with, other coaches. And I realized that like money is a relationship and it really reflects your ability to have relationships everywhere in your life. And so I started to see that like the money I wanted to bring in was actually reliant on my ability to have a very good relationship with everybody that was a part of Flourish, the clients receiving our help and the people that were supporting Flourish as contractors, because we have a lot of people that build our projects. They're stone masons and concrete workers and people that plant plants and do lights and all sorts of things that make these spaces. So investing in them as people investing in everyone as a person and now investing in my employee as a person literally makes our money work. Like, money happens for Flourish when I focus on the like the beautiful relationships that that company is here to do, like to serve.
That is so incredible. I love hearing that. I love hearing that, when we focus on the people that we deal with, yes, of course, um, they either, you know, the relationship with them is surrounded by money, but focusing on the actual relationship itself instead, I think that's so valuable, and lets people know that they're important to you, and when you can do that, then it just raises up your whole vibration, your whole mindset, and I think probably brings even better and greater opportunities to you. Is that right?
It does, and it goes back to the hustle. Like, I value my employee's life, so I really ask him not to work outside of 9 to 5 unless he decides to make a decision to do that. I mean, he actually can make his own schedule. It's just that a lot of designers have to work a lot of hours in order to be in that career.
Mhm.
And I don't believe in that. And so I want him to have a healthy, beautiful relationship with his wife and his family and his friends. And I want him to have the space to do that.
And it totally brings when someone is well rested and healthy emotionally, mentally, physically, and all those things outside of work, then they can bring their best to work and their design, and give everything that they have in that time that they're there with you. So I mean, I think that makes the most sense, and I don't know why more people don't see it that way.
I think people think that working harder yields more results, and it doesn't. And you're in
Mhm.
charge of, designing your business. And so really, if you want to work less, you just raise your prices. If you want to make the same amount of money, it's really that simple. And not that you're asking people to pay more for the same thing. You might make whatever you're doing more awesome, but a lot of times what I find is that people are undercharging for the service that they're providing, and they don't have, especially women, I've noticed in particular, and I don't like to pick on women, but I think a lot of people end up being people pleasers, especially women. And like, I think I did this. Like, I didn't feel comfortable charging what I was worth for a long time. And that was a mistake because people weren't getting the best of me. They were getting the worn out version of me. And I was actually resentful because
Mhm.
I needed to be charging more. And when I fixed all that, it really made me a better designer because I was like, hell, I'm charging what I'm worth now. So I'm amazing.
Right, and you got more in alignment with what you needed to be doing, and the people you needed to be serving. So, yeah, that's super awesome. What are you working on now, or where is your business headed?
Well, I've always, I think about Flourish every day, but I technically spend 4 hours a week on Flourish. I have 2 meetings with my employee, and then I do about an hour on marketing, and then about an hour on bookkeeping, and then anything else I do is just kind of fun stuff if I'm visiting clients and stuff. The rest of the time, I'm focusing on building my coaching practice, which, as I saw coaching going, I didn't want it to just be one on one, although I have my one on one clients. But I am excited about building my YouTube channel so that I can use that to talk about all these amazing things that I learned along the way and hopefully save people time and money. Because I spent a lot of money on coaches and I spent a lot of money making mistakes, and I want to have a place where I can tell these stories. And then I'll be able to offer them a course that they can take to really just skyrocket their business growth and like jam hard, like way sooner than I did. And so I'm really, really like, I'm
Yeah.
just so excited about sharing that with people. And I just didn't know how to package it up. And I finally figured it out how I was going to do that. And so it's just, it's fun to be able to share that with others.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Awesome. Okay. Let's do some rapid fire. What is a book, article, person, or talk that's changed your life?
Wow. I guess when Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now came out, it really struck me, and I was like, whoa, the present moment. Because I was just obsessed with being a better person, and I was really losing sight of the present moment. And it really sparked like a 20-year journey of reading books like that and starting to become aware.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna have to check out that book. I have heard of it, and I've heard, Oprah talks a lot about him and his books. I definitely need to add that to my list. What was your dream job as a kid?
I was always a little money hungry person because I liked toys when I was little, and I thought more money equals more toys. And so I saw on a list in the 80s that anesthesiologist was like a really high paying job, and I chose that. Um, and that was a terrible choice for me because I would be miserable doing that. But as I got wiser, I decided that I wanted to be an actor, and I'm really glad I'm not an actor right now. But there are other ways that I tap into the joy of being in front of people.
Oh, that's so fun. How cool. I always wanted to be Vanna White
Oh my gosh,
or
love her.
or a Radio City Rocket. Yeah, no, I just, being a performer, I guess. um, what is your next vacation that you're planning? I always think this is such a fun question because it really taps into who people are and how they spend their free
Yeah,
time.
I'm getting ready to plan vacations for 2020, and that just is kind of a matter of like our budget stuff as well. But I'm sorely embarrassed that I've not seen any of the UK at all, and I would really like to do so. Um, so that's pretty high on my list. I don't know if it's a 2020, but it's a soon. And I'm
Awesome.
an island junkie, so I will be choosing some kind of a tropical location to visit. And I'm also embarrassed that I haven't seen the Southwest yet. So that is high up on the list. Those are like my top three to figure out. So,
Awesome. That sounds so much fun. And I am an island junkie too. If it's got blue water, sand, and beer, that's where I want to be.
yeah.
Okay, tell me your best advice to help our listeners live with audacity.
I mean, be yourself and listen to your gut. I mean, some of us have our guts full of BS because you're listening to other ideas that people have given to you. So throw those away, and then you'll have the truth. Like, there's business advice out the wazoo now on YouTube, Instagram, and
Hmm.
Facebook, and books. Stop reading the books and just start doing what's in your gut.
I love that. I love that so much because I do think that we become so overwhelmed with, like you said, all the noise, all the advice, and all the how to do this and how to do that. And I think, when you don't know anything, of course, that's great to have so much information at your fingertips. But at the end of the day, you've got to turn all that off and listen to your own heart and spend some time alone with yourself so that you can actually hear what your own thoughts are, instead of always taking in other people's information. So I'm so glad you said that. Thank you so much for coming on. I had such a great time with
Thank
you.
you for having me. It's been fun to be with you today.
Awesome. And I will link all of Michelle's information in the show notes. But Michelle, tell us where people can find you to get more information.
Yeah, if you go to Michelle Andersen Inc.com, and my name is SEN with the Andersen, Michelle Andersen Inc.com, you'll actually find all of my websites, which is my coaching website and my Flourish website, if you're so curious, as I've bragged so much about it. And I've been audacious enough to have a link to my cat's Instagram on there because I think that's pretty important.
Oh my God, so cute. I love it. I love cats of Instagram. They are just so great. And I every once in a while I'll post a picture of Sir Jax as well. And he's just, our cats are the best. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. I really appreciate having you on and having you spend your time with us.
Thank you so much.
Did you love this episode of the Live with Audacity podcast as much as I did? I know you did. So if that's true, please head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts, subscribe, leave me a review. Please let me know how I'm doing, and I hope to see you next week. Bye.